I just wanted to talk briefly about marking when you're doing layout for fabrication. Um, there's a ton of choices, and some things work better than others. And unfortunately, uh, if you don't know about certain products, then you may not know what ends up working best for you. So, this is just going to go over all the different things I have tried and what I like and what I don't like about each one. And I'm going to start with the most common thing for precision layout, and that's a scribe. And these are great if you're using something that has paint, thin coat of paint that you don't mind scratching, or if you're using layout fluid, which is traditionally what it's used with. But on bare metal, especially if there is mill scale on it, they're not the greatest. I mean, they do work, but it's pretty hard to see. You can see there's a little line here already. But you got to press pretty hard to get these things to mark in the mill scale. I mean, that's pretty hard. And this thing is made of, I think this particular one is carbide. But you can get these in HHS too, which isn't even as hard. So this is one option. It works excellent on layout fluid though. And you can hold a line that is way more precise than any of the other solutions we'll talk about. But for this kind of stuff that I do, generally, I'm not holding that level of precision unless I'm, doing some machining or something like that. Next option, just a regular old permanent marker. And these work great. Actually, these are a excellent choice for just about anything, especially when they're new and sharp. I mean, they leave a mark that is relatively precise and is easily seen. Only disadvantages is if they set out for the sun any length of time, the mark fades pretty fast, which can be a disadvantage and not depending on what you're doing and where you're doing it. The other disadvantage is if you have to put any heat to this, that mark's gone instantly. As soon as the heat gets to it, it just vanishes. So that's one problem. There's also paint pens, which these work better if you're using them outside. If you need something that's going to hold a mark for a while, maybe for layout in the field or something like that, these work really good. The other disadvantage with these is that the line itself is quite a bit thicker. And maybe that's not a huge disadvantage, but you kind of need to know if you're holding, this side of the line or that side of the line, if your level of precision is, in that ballpark, these are pretty good. I like these. The only bad thing about them is it takes some drying time, and they leave a bit of paint that has to be cleaned up. Next, we have round soapstone, and this is great when you're working with heat. So if you need to do some torch cutting or some welding, these work really good. Personally, I hate these round ones. This is what I start with, and you can get a decent line. So the big disadvantage with the soapstone is that's one disadvantage, is getting that thing out of there. The big disadvantage I have with the soapstone is the line. So if I hold it at a pretty extreme angle, you can see I can get, Jesus, here's another one that drives me crazy. Make sure you get this collar tight. You can get a good line that's reasonably visible. However, God forbid you hold it at the wrong angle, I mean, I just held it at two different angles, and my line moved almost 1/8 of an inch, maybe just over that, maybe 3/16. That's unacceptable to me, so I never use this thing, just because of that. I would not recommend the round ones. However, they make flat ones. They make a couple different thicknesses of these too. I personally like this real thin one. because I can lay it right up where I need to, scribe a line. I get a nice, crisp, thin line, and then I can just keep kind of rotating it so I keep a nice straight stone on there. These are really good. I like these a lot. I used this one for quite a long time. Finding these little thin ones is kind of a pain, and then keeping them somewhere where they don't break, especially if you're going in the field, is kind of a pain. But yeah. So the last two options that I have that I want to talk about are these. And maybe you've seen these on other channels. This is the Markall Pro. They make a regular like pencil versions of these too. This one has the red Ritter. I want to call it lead. I guess we'll call it lead. I don't know what you want to call it. And then this one here has the silver streak. This is the Pico Dry, I think. Yeah, Pico Dry. And both of these are really good. There's advantages and disadvantages to each one, and I'm going to talk about the things I like and I don't like. We'll start with the Markall, because I personally really, really like this. But there's one disadvantage to it that keeps me from using it daily. So this one pretty much lives in my welding jacket because it fits right in the little, I don't know, little sleeve that's made into the shoulder of my welding jacket. That's the only problem with these. It's the lead breaks if you have it extended too far. So it works just like a mechanical pencil. You know, you push the button, the lead comes out. You can hold a nice tight line. It stays pretty close as it wears. This is the red Ritter. I like the red Ritter on steel a lot because I can see it well. Especially on bright steel. If you remove this mill scale and you use the silver streak, it's almost invisible. It doesn't hold up quite as well under heat as the silver streak, so I do use the silver streak a lot. But like I said, this one lives in my welding jacket. You can get down in holes really well with this thing. It's got this nice long metal sleeve. It's got a pocket clip and a tiny little sharpener built into the cap. So, disadvantage of this one. The distance from the pocket clip to the tip is too long for a standard shirt pocket. So it doesn't fit in your pocket right. And if you have any bit of lead protruding, you're either going to poke a hole in your pocket or you're going to break that little tip of lead. That's the big disadvantage with this, is that it doesn't fit in a pocket and there's nothing guarding the lead. So when you're done, you almost always have to retract the lead, either that or put it in a safe place. So for field stuff, I have a problem with it. I love it in the shop. I love the way this one feels better. I like that it doesn't have a shield in a lot of ways because I can just pull it out of my pocket, use it, stick it back in my pocket. It works great. That same advantage can become its disadvantage though. And that's where the Pica kind of shines. It has this little, I guess we'll call it a sheath. So it just slips in this sheath and that protects the tip. It's got basically the same tip as the Markall Pro. It works the same way, just like a mechanical pencil. Click it and it extends. This little back lets you come off and load your lead back through there. I personally never do it that way. I just load it through the front. Works fine that way. And then it has a sharpener built in the tip. The sharpener built in the tip is kind of a pain because usually you see these like barbs on here. If you stick this thing in your apron pocket or your welding jacket pocket, your pants pocket, it's stuck in there pretty good, which is good because when you go to pull it out of the sheath, it doesn't come out of the pocket. But at the same time, when you want to sharpen it, you got to yank this thing out, and that's kind of a pain. But at the same time, that's the advantage because it's got this sheath and it protects the lead. The distance between the pocket clip and the tip is such that it fits in a pocket. If Markall would have just not put this thing in this little detent and let you slide it up and down, it probably would work just as well. Or maybe if they made a couple slots, that might be something I do. Throw this on a lathe and just turn a slot in down here. But anyways, so that's what I think about these two. I really like both of them. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. They take the same lead, which is great. You can get a yellow, which I don't remember the name of. I don't use it. You can get the red Ritter. You can get the silver streak. You can get standard lead. And they work very well. The red Ritter and silver streak, just be aware, both of them break extremely easily. So you got to have minimum extension on the lead. The lead, the actual lead or graphite, whatever you want to say, works pretty good. It's harder to see, doesn't break nearly as easy. But yeah, these price-wise, the Mark All Pro is like, I think last time I looked on Amazon, it was like $22 or something. And this thing was like, depending on who you got it from on Amazon, I think you could get like a 2-pack for 30 or something like that. So it ended up being like 15 bucks. So they're comparable in price. So make your own choice. I like both. I use both. And that's about it.